welcome to Dogs Queensland. We're at the beautiful Durack venue today for the Gun Dogs and Heavy Breeds show. My name's Ashley Montgomery and we're going to be doing an interview today for the Dogs Queensland video channel with one of Queensland's longest serving All Breeds judges, Vic Jones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, we were just having a little chat. Vic is actually the second longest standing All Breeds judge in Queensland at the moment. Have you got a bit of sour grapes about that?
George Minchington is the oldest fella. Is that who you asked me then?
I was just asking if you had sour grapes.
No. George is an old mate of mine. Yeah.
Very good. Well, let's sit down and have a chat about some of the past, some of the history of Dogs Queensland, some judging, and one of my personal interests, a little bit of sportsmanship in the Dogs Queensland. Vic, thanks for sitting down for a chat to us this afternoon. Now, in your first video, we talked about your first dogs and how you got started in the dog world, but I'm really interested to find out a bit more about the history of judging in Queensland. Can you tell us a little bit about how you first became a judge in Queensland?
Yes, well, that's pretty easy, and I might add there wasn't as many dogs if we had breeds of dogs we have today, and I was asked at one stage to judge a puppy match. In fact, it was the only puppy match held on in the year, and it was held by the National Kennel Club, which is now the Northern Classic. And I judged a number of different breeds there, and subsequently, after Christmas, Henry approached me, the president of the CCC, and said, "I believe you've done a good job out the puppy match." I said, "I don't know, no one's told me." He said, "Oh, I've heard." He said, "We're after judges, we haven't got very many, and we want younger fellas like yourself to consider taking it up. Are you interested?" I said, "I've never given it much thought." He said, "Well, with what I've heard," he says, "why don't you apply to the council to be examined?" I said, "Yeah, righto." Now, there was no book of standards available in Queensland at that time, and it was a matter of just speaking to other exhibitors. Subsequently, I get the invite. I go in, half a dozen old fellas sitting at the table, judges and council members, and they said, "All right, Mr. Jones, you applied to become a judge. Well, no doubt you want to do the gun dogs." I said, "Yes." They said, "All right then. How many breeds are there in the gun dog group?" Well, I said, "Oh, I don't know." They said, "Well, name the ones you know." I said, "Well, there's Cocker Spaniels, there's Springer Spaniels, keep going, name all the Spaniels." I said, and they said, "What about the big heavy dog?" And I said, "Big heavy dog?" They said, "He's all white." "All white? Short legs?" "I don't know." "Ever heard of a clumber?" "I've heard of them, but I've never seen one." "Oh, that's all right then. Well, what other dogs do you know?" I said, "Well, there's Irish setters, and we've got English setters." They said, "What about the Gordon setter?" I said, "I've never seen one." And they said, "He's like an English setter, but he's black and tan." "Oh, right. Now, what other dogs?" I said, "Well, there's Labradors." "Yeah. What's peculiar about the Labrador? Something that he must have?" "Oh, I don't know. 4 legs." No. Something to do with his steering when he's swimming." "I don't know." They said, "He's got an otter tail." "A what?" "He's got an otter tail, very thick at the base. Very thick at the base." "Oh, go on now." "Yes. What else?" "Oh, the golden retrievers, like I talked to Mrs. Glover. She's got a lot of gold." "Yes, Mrs. Glover's got a lot of golden retrievers." "Right. Any other dogs in there that you heard of?" And things like that. So I'm huffing and puffing and thinking. I brought up a couple more breeds. Anyhow, leave it, Mr. Jones. We'll let you know. I get a letter about 10 days later telling me that I was successful and I'm now an open judge. Well, this went on for, I was quite happy. I'm approached by Henry, "Why don't you do another couple of groups?" So I do a couple of more groups. Similar questions, just general knowledge they want to know, and I passed out, and then next to no time, maybe probably within 2 years, I was All Breeds parade judge. I said, and they only had 6 groups in those days. Anyhow, that's it. And Henry came on. He says, well, he says, you should now, he said, to get more appointments, judge championship shows. I went along the same procedure. Now, it happened to be in 1958 that I judged my first All Breeds championship show. One judge could judge a whole show in those days because of the numbers. And that club happened to be the Nambour Kennel Club. And I can remember the secretary of it was a fellow named Norm Wilson. And I think I had under 200 dogs. And that was my very first All Breeds championship show.
Wonderful. How would you say that the exhibitors, from the perspective of a judge, how have the exhibitors themselves changed from the 50s through until 2016?
Oh, what a difference. You know, in those early days, people congratulated the winners in the ring and they all shook one another's hands. People clapped around the ring for the winners. And I said, even when the groups came in, they didn't need prompting. The whole group got a clap. The whole group got a clap. And I said, nowadays, that's a rarity. It's a rarity. Very rarely you see somebody shake someone's hand. They come out the ring with comments, fancy being beaten by that so-and-so and everything like that. I never heard it, but I witnessed for a number of years early on, people were more sporty.
How do you think we can encourage more sportsmanlike behaviour now?
Well, I think the problem with bad sportsmanship, and I'd hate to say this, but it starts in specialty clubs, specialty breed clubs, because they get 2 and 3 or more fractions in it, and they're at one another's head, whereas I think they got a better, there's more sportsmanship in an all breeds club. The unfortunate thing nowadays is all clubs are suffering to gain members, and it all boils down, I honestly believe, in specialty breed clubs. That's where the trouble starts, and it just then continues.
So maybe if we looked at maybe bringing in some sportsmanship awards in those specialty clubs or something like that, do you think that would be enough of an encouragement or a recognition of good sportsmanship to maybe improve the state of affairs?
I'd like to see something done. Now and then you get judges who'll sort of wave their hands up, come on, cheer, give us a clap and things like that. That's a bit of an encouragement. I really don't know what can do, but I think everything that's tried, we should hit some sort of settle. But that is the trouble, honestly. You only got to look around and you'll see different groups in clubs. People are in groups.
Now, an interesting thing that came from your first interview was an episode where kids under 10 in Queensland for a little while weren't able to show because of one accident. Now, that's since, of course, been changed back. But how do you think that junior handlers and the way that they're showing is affecting the future? Do we need to be putting more into junior handlers, do you think?
I think junior handlers at times, and I've seen it on numerous occasions, where the kid doesn't handle the dog properly and the parent gets stuck into the kid and telling them they've done the wrong thing, and I've seen it here at Durack. Kids are crying because their parents have got stuck into them. I think the parents should take, it's like football matches, it's bad now. The parents are getting involved in fights at football matches. I hope they don't get in fights at the dog shows, but I do see parents telling kids off rather than showing them something softly how to do things correctly.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Is there anything else that you would like to talk about or mention to wrap up our interview today? How much time have we got?
Don't start. There's so many things I think should be altered. I think we're overruled by rules to start off with. Too many. People are taking things too seriously. I just think that our leaders should take a softer approach to things. I'd like to see a lot more fun put into the dog shows, and that's down to the exhibitors themselves. I think that's why a lot of people. I can quote one incident. This happened at a show. It was the Jack Russell show when I was president of the club. We invited a young girl and her parents to enter their puppy at a show that we sold them the puppy to. They turned up at the show. I think entries was around about $10. The little girl won a class. It wasn't our show. We got her to show at a show. The entry was about $10. The father came back and picked her up at 3 o'clock, and she says, "I won, Dad." "Oh, good." He said, "What'd you get?" She says, "Nothing." He said, "Did you get a ribbon?" She says, "No."
Aww.
How many clubs do you see handing out ribbons nowadays?
But then how many times have you handed back a challenge ribbon? I tend to hand them back to the club for next year if I get a challenge ribbon.
Well, that's quite all right. But see, there was a new exhibitor. Now, a father said, "Well, this is a waste of money, you needn't come in." We haven't seen her again.
Yeah.
Haven't seen her again. I think that they ought to hand a ribbon to the girl, and even if they had some of these junior handlers standing at the ring handing out the ribbon, and have a box at one side that if they don't need the box, they can drop it back in and the club can use it again. But new exhibitors, they're the ones you've got to encourage. And in fact, I see new exhibitors around the gun dog ring, and I've spoken to them at times, and they're standing there, and I said, "You a new exhibitor?" And they said, "Yes." Nobody else has spoken to them on the day. That never happened in the early days.
Yeah.
Everyone was around and making you welcome and things like that.
I must say, new exhibitors and welcoming them is a big thing that I'm passionate about, and I genuinely believe that we're not going to have a sport in 50 years if we're not getting better with our new exhibitors. So you're preaching to the converted on that one. Are there other ways that you think, or other issues that are making it harder for people to get involved for new exhibitors?
I think the problem with them is the older exhibitors, the way they act. I really do.
I'll share a story with you. Actually, maybe I shouldn't. I will. My first 3 shows here at Durack, I had 2 Bichons that I was showing. And the first 3 shows I ever did here at Durack, someone stole my tent pegs. All 3 weekends. Because I was winning.
You know, many years ago, Henry Phillips tells me this, they used to leave dogs overnight at the Brisbane show.
Wow.
And a well-known Dachshund, when they turned up the next day, had its tail missing.
That's horrible. That's terrible. All right, well, that sort of extreme thing I don't think is happening now. Maybe because we don't leave our dogs anywhere unsupervised, but I think that you're very right. We need to encourage new exhibitors and encourage good sportsmanship as well. So you can lead by example? Yes?
Yeah, well, no, I've had great fun exhibiting dogs. I don't exhibit any longer. I'm still judging, but thinking seriously of maybe retiring at the end of the year. Still only thinking. When I'm creeping about rather than walking about, I'll give it away. But I'm happy that I have my family, granddaughters, grandsons showing dogs, and I'm very, very happy indeed to do that.
Vic Jones, thank you very, very much for your time today, and hopefully we'll see you around for many years to come.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.